So that song, Video Killed the Radio Star, holds a special place in my heart. It's basically was the first, I don't know if you know this, fun fact, first song ever played on MTV. And it was signifying a new era, that the old approach was going to be rendered obsolete by the new approach. And today we find ourselves in a very similar situation with AI. As I was thinking about this, actually, it reminded me of another big innovation that happened long ago. Oops, let me get back to that. So the innovation I was thinking about was the printing press. Imagine if you were this age that you are right now in 1440, when the printing press came out. Everything you'd been trained, the things that got you to this point in success at that time, were about to be rendered obsolete. Video killed the radio star. And I have to imagine back in that day that some of the people were so locked in the way things were, so desperate to do what they've always done, that they probably struggled quite a bit. Whereas the people that leaned into this new technology, this new approach, were able to reap wild rewards. It's exactly the way we find ourselves today in the world of insurance and, of course, in the world of business in general. Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, said it well: artificial intelligence may be the most important technology in any lifetime. It's a big statement. Like, what about fire or the wheel? So, I know, it's pretty bold. Whether we agree with him or not, specifically, like, we can't disagree that this is a monumental change, and it will affect every way that we work, live, raise our kids, share in our communities, serve our clients. Another one that caught me is that Mark Cuban, another sort of tech entrepreneur, the next 5 years will dwarf the last 30. Now, 30 years ago, none of us had a phone in our pocket. There was no such thing as Facebook. We couldn't use Google Maps. We didn't have DoorDash. And think how different the world is today. And if the next 5 will dwarf the last 30, wow. This doesn't have to be scary. It actually can be very exciting. That we have a profound opportunity ahead of us to, do things differently, but also to enjoy dramatic rewards and be of service to those we care about the most. I get often asked this question, and by the way, while I'm a tech investor and I've started tech companies, I wouldn't call myself a technologist. So our conversation today is not really going to be around technology. I'm not going to give you prompt engineering ideas. We're going to talk about this more. What can we do as human beings to lean into this age of AI? So I pondered this question for quite some time. I was really thinking about it, and it finally struck me. The difference between humans and AI and how we fit into this new era is this. I'm sure we all remember the show. It's obviously a hit, but Kirk was humanity, Spock was AI. Spock was super linear, computational skills beyond any human being, but he lacked empathy and feeling and compassion. Whereas Captain Kirk was all the opposite of that. He maybe wasn't good on the draw with computational skills, but he was all about passion and love and humanity and connection. And so I think for us, as we enter this bold new era, we can't out-AI AI. We have to lean into our Kirk, to our humanity. In other words, we must become more human as AI becomes more tech. I'll give you a couple examples, and again, we're going to have a lot of fun this afternoon talking about business and music and other things. And I want you to really consider how you can embrace these ideas and mindsets and apply them to your work in this rapidly changing environment. So this is a picture of the company that I started in 1999. It was called ePrize. We designed, built, and ran digital promotions for large brand advertisers. Think like half ad agency, half software company. So I'm building the company, and we had the chance to win a massive account from a company you might know called Conagra. Probably recognize some of their brands from the grocery store. Well, here's the scenario. This giant company decides to single source their purchases of our type of work, give all their business to one supplier. This got very competitive, as you might imagine. So we're desperately competing to win, and so were a lot of competitors. In our case, we made it to the finals. So at this point, 3 companies remaining. My little shop from Detroit, Michigan, 2 much larger companies, all wanted this bad. The problem is that the buyer, the decision maker, I hate to say it, he was kind of mean. I'm sure you've had clients like this, condescending, arrogant, difficult. And to make it worse, he was dragging the decision process out. He kept setting a deadline to make a decision, blew every deadline. I bumped into this man and his wife at an industry conference, just like this. And I thought, this is my shot. At every meal, at every coffee break, I'm like scurrying up to him, trying to close the deal. Meanwhile, he wants nothing to do with me, totally dismissive. I just figured it was over. Well, I saw him again at the airport. It turns out this man and his wife were on the same outbound flight that I was. Here's what happens next. I can't even make this up if I tried. He gets an upgrade to first class. Well, being the gentleman that he is, he takes the seat for himself and sends his wife back to coach. Boo is right. Man, if I did that with my wife, Tia, game over, not happening. Zero chance. Before I could fully process it, I heard my own name. I also got an upgrade. So I walk on that flight, and there it is. I have the seat next to him. Now think what your business instincts would be telling you. Go in for the kill. Don't let him off the plane until he signs. What would AI tell you to do? That. But what would Kirk tell you to do? What would the human inside of us? Give it to the wife. Yes. Yes. So you, sir, are in no threat of being AI replaced. So this is what I did. I walked on. I said, hey, I have the seat next to you. He said, all right, fine, we could chat. And I said, look, I'd love that. But I plan to catch up on a whole bunch of work on this flight. And I noticed that your wife is sitting in back. So how about we switch seats? I'll share, as I was walking back to find his wife, my hands were shaking. I was thinking, was that the dumbest thing I've ever done in my career? But I felt like I owed it to my team to try something new, not just to mention, it felt like the right thing as a human being. So I found his wife, gave her my ticket, and I said, hey, go sit with your husband. Have a great flight. She actually gets a little teared up. She says to me, thank you so much. This means the world to me. I'm so happy to be sitting with my husband. I was thinking, really? I almost expected her to reject the offer. Like, we're good. Anyway, flight takes off. I get to work. And the first thing we all do when we land is we check our mobile device. I look down at mine and I see an email from my office. It says, Josh, ConAgra deal signed. Thank you. Thank you. It's very kind of you, but I'll share that what I did on that airplane wasn't special. We all have the ability to be creative. I've been studying human creativity now for a couple decades, and the research is crystal clear. All of us, and yeah, I mean all of us, we're built for this. We're hardwired to be creative. You don't have to play jazz guitar or do interpretive dance to be creative. There's room for creativity in our daily groove. And so in my case, I just tapped a little bit of that. I tried something different. He said to me, by the way, he said, I was looking for a tiebreaker. All three companies were legit, but when you demonstrated some humanity, instead of only chasing the bottom line, when you showed a willingness to be innovative in the moment, I wanted you on my team. Before the flight took off, he had texted into headquarters. By the time we landed, corporate had signed the deal, $30 million. So again, I'm not being boastful at all, quite the opposite. This is what's available to all of us, even more so important in the world of AI. Speaking of the world we're living in, it's not just one factor. They're all stacking on top of each other. Yeah, there's inflation and tariffs and geopolitical turmoil and interest rates and. And so what this is telling us is that we are being called to lead in a different way. We can no longer simply rely on the models of the past and expect the same result. And I think that we also have an opportunity because we can be overwhelmed by the change, which is a natural thing. I'm not being critical. And we can say, oh, it's all happening to me. Why is this happening? Or we can lean into the change. And so I think the choice we have to make is, are we going to be a change victim or a change agent? We can long for the good old days, or we can get after the new ones. And that's why we're here, isn't it? We came to this beautiful resort and to hang out with our friends and colleagues to explore a new path forward, to say, how do we adapt in these changing conditions? Well, you can't look in a new direction by looking harder in the same direction. I've always loved this by researcher Edward de Bono. But that's often what we do when there's change. I'll just gut it out. I'll do more of the same. But that just leads to burnout. That doesn't lead to progress. And I think there's a better way, which is leveraging our capacity as human creators, as artists. Which brings me to my passion other than my family, is jazz music. I know not everyone loves listening to it. It's a bit of an acquired taste. I would ask by a show of hands, actually, how many people like jazz, but it might hurt my feelings. You don't have to do that. Hey, there's a couple, thank you. Even if you're lying, I'm happy about it. That feels good to me. I heard a funny one recently that a country musician plays 3 chords to 100,000 people in the audience. A jazz musician plays 100,000 chords to 3 people in the audience. It's kind of true. But I'll suggest, back to that printing press moment where things had changed, I think most of us got in this room by being classical musicians. I'm not critical of classical, I love the art form, but the musician's job in classical music is to play the notes exactly as Mozart intended. And it's about precision and accuracy and technical capacity. Today, we just don't have that luxury anymore. We're living in an environment that's too volatile, too fluid. We have to perform at our best without all the notes. We have to improvise, we have to play some jazz. And so I think we're actually being called to show up as jazz musician leaders, not the classical musicians of the past. And when you pull the instruments and notes off the equation, this is what jazz musicians actually do. We're constantly adapting to changing conditions, navigating uncertainty and ambiguity, using situational awareness and active listening to drive better results, real-time collaboration and problem solving, recovering quickly from setbacks. In jazz, there are many. And ultimately, improvising to deliver the best possible outcomes. Here's the fun part. If I pull that word jazz musician off and swap in the word great leader, nothing changes. This is exactly, in my opinion, how we're being called to lead. This is the new model. This is the framework that we must adapt because the world's changing at such a rapid pace. That's how we win in the age of AI. And getting more tactical about it, here's the good news. Words like innovation and transformation can feel so overwhelming. It doesn't have to be. I've had the great honor to write 4 books, and this one's my favorite, actually. I finished it a couple years back. It's called Big Little Breakthroughs, How Small Everyday Innovations Drive Oversized Results. This was a real passion project. I set out on a mission. I wanted to understand, how do the most creative and innovative leaders think and act? What do they do every day? So I spent over 1,000 hours on the project. I interviewed CEOs, billionaires, celebrity entrepreneurs, Grammy award-winning musicians. What I discovered was fascinating, the opposite of what you might think. The best of the best don't take high-risk moonshots all the time. Instead, they cultivate small daily acts of everyday creativity, micro-innovations at a high-frequency basis. By the way, I think there's a copy of the book for everybody, and so after we conclude our remarks, I'm happy to sign a copy for you, so give you a little artifact to take home with you. It's great for insomnia, in case you're worried. So here's the conundrum. We think of innovation in all capital letters, and that's the big stuff, inventing the internet or penicillin or AI. But that might be out of reach for most of us normal folks. The good news, it's not the only flavor. Think of the word now just with a capital I. Capital I innovation are the 2 or 3 a year that any one of us might land on that really make a difference. What I did on that airplane, I got a $30 million order. Now, they're not making a documentary film about me, but that was a win. Here's the thing, the often forgotten ones, the all lowercase version, are my favorite. The micro innovations, the big little breakthroughs. Instead of 2 or 3 a year, think 2 or 3 a day. In this sense, creativity starts to become something that you are, not just something that you do. Let's look at a real world example. I learned that the Panama Canal almost wasn't in Panama. It actually came down to 2 countries, Panama and Nicaragua. At the time, both countries agreed to the project. The US government agreed to fund it. The cost was about the same. It all had to get decided in a vote in the US Congress. Well, if you ever wonder what a single frontline person can do with a baby dose of innovation, check this out. One person really wants it in Panama, takes it upon himself to act. He sends a postage stamp to every US senator responsible for the vote. Now remember, he wants it in Panama, but instead of sending a Panama stamp, he sends a Nicaragua stamp. This is the actual stamp. It's a little grainy and hard to see, but you might notice there's a volcano on the stamp. This was a loud signal that Nicaragua was filled with volcanoes, Panama had none. History reflects that this single act of ingenuity tipped the scales in favor of Panama. That's why we have the Panama Canal instead of the Nicaragua Canal. But let's explore the impact, the ripple effect of a small dose of creativity over time. When the canal was built, both countries were nearly identical. Population, income levels, all that. Look at the countries today. Nicaragua has had runaway population growth, but the GDP of Panama is 4 times higher. Nearly every social metric, schooling, health, public safety, all in favor of Panama. And the per capita income is 15 times higher. Since the canal's construction, it's contributed $1 trillion of economic impact to that country, all from a postage stamp. To me, this is liberating and awesome because it means we don't have to be Da Vinci or Picasso. Any one of us can send a postage stamp. And think about all the opportunities, those postage stamps in our businesses, especially if we get our teams to do the same. We cultivate an army of everyday innovators, we become unstoppable. So here was the little innovation, the postage stamp, that led to the capital I innovation, the vote in Congress, that led to the big innovation, the Panama Canal. Ground up innovation, not just top down. You want to talk about winning in the age of AI? Let's do that. There's no more, I get how powerful AI is, I invest in AI companies, but there's no more powerful technology than human creativity. It's renewable, it doesn't hurt the environment, and has the biggest possible impact. So with that in mind, I've decided to organize our conversation this afternoon around 4 big ideas. Think of them as mindset shifts that you can embrace and your teams can embrace to step into this new era. 5 core mindsets to innovate in the age of AI. Number 1, start before you're ready. Too often we see an opportunity or a challenge. Instead of getting after it, we wait. We're waiting for permission or ideal conditions, but that's a real risky thing. We might lose the opportunity altogether or give up our head start. The best of the best do something different. They just get started. They thrust themselves in motion. They take the initiative, even if they can't see the finish line. And they play some jazz. They sort of bob and weave and adapt. They find their way in stream. And to bring this to life, I wanted to introduce you to a friend of mine named Jesse Cole. Jesse was 23 years old and flat broke. He had a dream, more like a fantasy, that one day he wanted to own a professional sports team. This was impossibly out of reach. He had no money, no plan, no contacts, nothing. But one day he learned that in Savannah, Georgia, 1,000 miles from his house, the minor league baseball team was going through a bankruptcy. Jesse could have done nothing. Most people would do nothing. But Jesse gets into his rusted out old car. He drives 1,000 miles to Savannah, Georgia. He shows up at that bankruptcy. He's the only one that showed up. The city manager doesn't know what to do, finally says, all right, give the kid a shot. So here's Jesse in charge of a team. He has no idea what he's doing. He had to start before he's ready. But he also had to do something that we all can do. He had to awaken the artist within. When we were 6 years old, every one of us was an artist, weren't we? It's been said that kids enter kindergarten with a full set of colorful crayons, graduate high school with a single blue ballpoint pen. It's not teachers' fault. Teachers are heroes. We have an outdated system that instead of nurturing our creative abilities, we tend to beat it out of us. And I'll say that's the worst thing that can happen in the age of AI, because anything that can be automated will be automated. So these skills of creative problem solving and inventive thinking, that used to be a nice to have, an optional thing. Today that's mission critical. The people that win in this new era are going to do more of this. Now the good news is we can reconnect to that pretty quick because it's part of who we are. Awaken the artist within. Here's what Jesse does. First he's like, we need a bold new start. At the time the team was called the Savannah Sand Gnats. I know, it's a terrible name. We proudly rebranded the team the Savannah Bananas. Just quick show of hands, how many people have heard of the Bananas in the room? Wow, look at some fans here, that's awesome. It's gotta be 60% or more of the folks here that have heard of them. That's very cool to me. So he not only rebrands the team, he rebrands himself. 7 days a week, he's in a yellow tuxedo. Like that's his artist uniform. And he starts to figure out, like people didn't come because they were bored and a slow game and all that. So he set out on this mission to create the most fun team in any sport, being deeply customer-centric. Here are some of the things that he does when he awakens the artist within. He recognized that in between innings was sort of a slow and boring period. So Jesse trains the team to do choreographed dance routines and lip sync battles. And so what normally a slow and boring period is like a really fun thing. People are having fun. The team is getting into it. The whole thing is wild. At the beginning of every season, the uniforms start out as green because they're not ripe yet. Anyone can have an umpire, but they have a dancing umpire. And he's doing his job, but he's having some fun. I mean, that guy's got some rad moves, right? Get after it. They have a player that pitches and hits on stilts. A few years back, I'm sitting at my desk, and I get an envelope in the mail, handwritten, big, oversized yellow envelope. I open it up. There's a big, oversized yellow postcard. It says, Josh, my name is Jesse Cole. I read your books. I followed your work. I applied it to this team in Savannah, Georgia. I just want to say thanks. I'd never heard of him at the time. But I called him. I looked him up online, and I gave him a call. We became fast friends, and in 2021, I joined the board of directors of the Savannah Bananas. So I have a little inside baseball to share with you today. Jesse says to me one time, hey, Josh, you know what a first base coach does? I said, no, not really. He's like, yeah, me neither. It's a dumb position. He's like, these are professional baseball players. They know when to run. But if I have an extra player on that field, what if I flip it? Instead of taking care of the runners, what if I flip it, have them take care of the fans? The guy flipping upside down there knows nothing about baseball. He's a professional breakdancer. His job on the team, first base coach. So here he's doing a physical flip, but he's also doing a technique. I'm so excited to share this with you. You will never forget it. It's super easy and super powerful. I just call this technique the judo flip. The judo flip. When you're going to solve a problem, seize an opportunity, win a client, you first say, how have we always done it? How does everybody else in insurance do it? And then you ask a simple question. What's the opposite? What if I judo flipped it instead of complied with the tradition? Jesse's case, first base coach, take care of the runners. Judo flip, take care of the fans. Here are some other judo flips that Jesse did. Many teams have young women dancing for the fans. What's the judo flip? Meet the Savannah Nanas. They're a grandma troupe of dancers. They're awesome, by the way. I've been to games. What's the judo flip of that? The dad bod cheerleading squad. They have all these fun rituals before every game. There's the presentation of the banana baby. They jam the circle of life. Everyone's singing along. It's terrific. And they not only take care of the fans in stadium, they film everything and share it online. Today, the team has 30 million social media followers, many times more than any Major League Baseball team. People fall in love. They start showing up dressed as bananas. They've come from all 50 states and over 100 countries. People have tattooed the team's logo on their bodies. And there's Jesse having fun. When he got hold of that team, there was 4,100 seats in the stadium, most vacant. Today, he started selling out Major League ballparks, like this one was in Fenway in Boston. He started becoming so popular, they now shifted to NFL stadiums, and they sell out 60, 70,000 seats a game. So the team became the most successful team in baseball by every objective measure. The most wins, the most revenue, the most profit, the most merchandise sales, the most gross margin, the best team engagement, the best fan engagement, all from Jesse, who starts with nothing. But he starts before he's ready, and he awakens the artist within. Just rounding it out, the team goes viral on ESPN, who broadcast games. They're now on tour, hitting 35 cities. And by the way, they have a waiting list for tickets now that's 2 million fans long. That's an actual number. I just was chatting with Jesse because he was on 60 Minutes a week ago and did a big profile of the team. So they're just getting all this momentum. And it couldn't happen to better people. This is Jesse and his wife, Emily, holding one of their 3 foster kids. Now that they've had some success, they wanted to give back. And so they started a foundation to raise money and awareness for foster care. What did they name it? Well, you guessed, Bananas Foster. It just doesn't get better. Like, I can't make this up. So why are we talking about a weird dude in a yellow tux? Because it's a different industry, but the principles apply. Start before you're ready. Awaken the artist within. Get creative, become customer obsessed. These exact same principles work for him, but they can also work for all of us. Big idea number 2. Break it to fix it. I'm sure we've heard that phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't know who came up with that phrase. That is terrible advice. Let's all commit to never saying that again. Because what's that saying? It's saying, hey, I'm going to have tunnel vision on. I'm going to ignore any outside stimulus until something is broken on the floor and a wreck and a mess. Then and only then will I even consider an upgrade. That is bonkers. Don't do that. Do the opposite, which is to proactively examine systems or processes that might be looking fine on the surface. Deconstruct them. Find a way to make them better. This is the idea of always reinventing and reimagining and rethinking. Break it to fix it. A fun example of that is comedian Jerry Seinfeld. He does something pretty cool. When he gives a stand-up performance, like let's say he was here in Tampa, gave a big stand-up performance, crowd goes nuts. If he came back 1 year later, he won't repeat a single joke. Every year, Seinfeld forces himself to start with a blank page. This ensures that he stays relevant and fresh and creative rather than complacent or stale. There's a real power in that, letting go in order to move ahead. And from a business standpoint, we do this in my hometown of Detroit. When we launch a new model year of a car, it renders the old one obsolete. There's even a term for it, planned obsolescence. This is instructive for us too, as people and as leaders. I try to put the Josh of 6 months ago out of business with the new version. And so again, it's the idea of always upgrading, and again, the willingness to let go in order to move ahead. Letting go of what was in favor of what's possible. Letting go of the way things were to discover the way things might be. Fun example of that, this is a guy named Kevin Bull, who was in financial services actually, but he has this dream. He wants to be an American Ninja Warrior. Have you seen the show? Yeah, it's a great show. The people on the show are professional athletes and Olympians. But Kevin was not. He was just a normal guy, but he trains hard, he works at it, and he gets onto the show as an amateur. But then he was facing the challenge of his life. It was called Cannonball Alley. The whole thing was a test of his upper body strength. Kevin had to grab onto these balls that were hanging from the rafters and leap from one to the next to the next. 16 world-class athletes tried it before Kevin, they all failed. No human had ever beaten this course. Now it's Kevin's turn. What's he possibly going to do? He didn't have the upper body strength of those that failed before him. So he had to get creative. He had to break it to fix it. He had to give it a judo flip. Let's check out what Kevin did.
Kevin Bull, may the force be with you, because he is going to need it.
Here are the other finalists cheering him on. Such camaraderie in this sport. They love to see success, even sometimes at the expense of their own fortunes.
I think what that is real respect for this course.
A course that's been unbeatable so far tonight. He is propelling himself right up the salmon ladder. Oh, a little uneven. You can see a lot of movement in his body. Now, Bull ready to take on the dreaded Cannonball Alley. And by touching that first cannonball, Kevin Bull is in. He's going to Vegas.
If I'm Kevin Bull here, I'm stealing a page out of Thaddeus Robeck's book, and I'm hugging the cannonballs.
With that, oh, look at this. A new approach. Getting both legs over. Is he going to go inverted?
Wow.
I like it. Thinking outside the box, and sometimes it takes a rookie to do that. Look at this!
Oh.
He's hanging upside down. I love it! Oh. He's going to go for the dismount upside down. And
Whoa.
that's what I'm talking about. The first man to complete the Cannonball Alley Cannonball.
Oh, man.
Are you kidding me? Wow, the crowd erupts.
Are you kidding me?
What an effort. David Campbell's words prove prophetic. Kevin Bull is the real deal. The first man to survive Cannonball Alley. He has punched his ticket to Mount Midoriyama, but he is not done.
We often think that the face of innovation has to look like Galileo or something. I think that's the face of innovation. Here's what I love about this. He didn't come up with a new product or tech or anything. This was a process improvement. He didn't work more hours. He didn't exert more effort. He found a better way. He broke it to fix it. So all this talk about innovation and creativity, especially in the age of AI, might feel a little risky. Here's the good news. We can significantly reduce risk through experimentation. By the way, that's how AI learns. Tries lots of stuff, quickly learns, self-adjusts. That's what we can do as people too. Think of experimentation as the antidote to innovation risk. Question, what percentage of movies do you think are a hit? Again, major studios, they spend millions of dollars, they hire A-list actors. Just shout it out. What percentage do you think are a hit? 12, 10, 5, 2. We've all seen some lousy movies, apparently. Me too. The actual answer is only a little bit better. It's 36%, which, by the way, that still means that 64% are not a hit. What does the industry say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Enter Reese Witherspoon. Reese is not only a wonderful actor, she's a wonderful business person. She owns and runs a production company called Hello Sunshine and uses experimentation to de-risk progress. Every month, Reese promotes a book in something called Reese's Book Club, which is followed by millions of people around the world. But it's actually a cleverly disguised experimentation laboratory. Before she promotes a book, she signs a deal with the author. So now Reese's company controls the distribution rights, the TV rights, the podcast rights, the movie rights. Then she promotes the book, and she and a team of data scientists sit down and study exactly what happens. Geographic pull-through rates, buying patterns, social media influence. And then she knows. She knows what's going to work and what's not. As mentioned, average industry success rate is 36%. Reese's success rate is 90%. 90. She takes 90% of the risk off the table because she thinks of this as an experimentation process. So today, again, I want to share a couple tools with you. One is the judo flip. You will never forget that. Here's our second one. Pretty sure that we all have a to-do list. My loving suggestion is after today, let's all keep a second running list. Let's also keep a to-test list. Very simple. The second list, anytime an idea pops in your head, big, small, weird, half-baked, don't worry, no judgment, stick it on the list. The mere existence of this list will boost your ability as a leader. You will become more innovative just because this serves as an ongoing reminder that part of our job is to be an everyday experimenter. Periodically, once a week or so, grab your crew and say, hey, what are we going to test this week? And by this, I mean cheap, fast, crude experiments, $20 in 15 minutes. Most won't work, dump them fast. But the ones that do, you expand the size of the experiment. And like Reese, you can take 90% of that risk off the table. All right, brings us to our third big idea of the afternoon. Seek the unexpected. It's easy, especially in a mature industry, to gravitate to the tried and true. This is where we can really win in the AI age because AI will gravitate to the tried and true. But for us to win, we can seek the unexpected, which is going out on a creative limb, looking for those oddball, weird ideas, the unorthodox ones that might really make all the difference we're looking for. Cloudflare is a cybersecurity firm. They're responsible for protecting about 10% of all global internet traffic. Big responsibility. The way that cybersecurity works, it all comes down to an encryption key. If the encryption key is intact, you're good. If it's broken, big problem. Now, encryption keys are written by code, which in theory could be cracked. So Cloudflare, where did they turn with such a big responsibility? They decided to seek the unexpected, and they decided to turn to lava lamps. Lava lamps, these weird blobby things from the 1970s, they're never in the same position twice. At Cloudflare's headquarters in San Francisco, they have a whole wall of lava lamps. Each has a digital camera aimed at that individual lava lamp. At random times throughout the day, it snaps a picture of a lava lamp, converts that picture to binary code, and that empowers their encryption key. So yeah, 10% of all global internet traffic is protected by lava lamps. And it's been celebrated as the most secure platform on the planet. Their breakthrough didn't come by doing what everybody else does a little better. They came because they decided to seek the unexpected. One more technique for you. We talked about the judo flip. We talked about having a to-test list. Here's the third. As successful leaders, we generally make a decision between option A, option B, or option C. Nearly everything that you decide, you kind of narrow the choice down to one of three options. My loving suggestion is, before doing that, just pause for 1 second and say, wait a minute. Is there an option D? Is there an E? Or I like to say, is there an option X? Option X are those weird ideas that really make a difference. Lava lamps, giving the seat next to your biggest sales prospect to the man's wife. Let's look at a couple more. Country Time Lemonade, I'm sure we all remember this as a kid, but the brand had been really losing relevancy. It was sort of this dusty old brand. It wasn't thought to be modern. And they were really struggling. They didn't know what to do. They had to try to bring their brand back. Now, they could blow a bunch of money. They could do what everybody else does, or they could seek the unexpected. They realized a weird thing was going on in our country with lemonade stands. there were these old laws that were forcing kids to shut down their lemonade stand, which is like the goofiest thing ever. So here's what Country Time Lemonade did when they decided to seek the unexpected. Option X in action. Check it out.
Around the country, kids are getting busted for running lemonade stands. Entrepreneurship, good work habits, good old-fashioned fun, shut down because of old, arcane, but very real laws to kids like Autumn Thomason.
My lemonade stand got shut down because I didn't have a permit. It was unfair.
She's 6. It's happening everywhere. No, seriously, look it up. But this summer, things are going to be different because Country Time is introducing Legal Aid, a crack team ready to straighten out lemonade stand-related permits and fines, making sure no kid is denied their right to a lemonade stand and all the benefits they bestow.
If you have a problem with your lemonade stand, the offices of Country Time Legal Aid
are ready to take a stand for you.
tastes like justice.
So, when life gives you arcane laws, make lemonade.
We're here for you.
And get your permits and fines paid at countrytimelegalaid.com.
I know, it's so good. So what happened was remarkable. This dusty old brand that was on a decline on every objective measure turned itself around with this concept. Not only did they have a massive boost in revenue and relevancy, they were featured on late night TV shows, all that, they actually got the law changed in 11 states, which is just cool beyond all reason. So the prompt here is for all of us to look for those option X ideas. Don't dismiss them because they're weird. Maybe lean that much harder into them if they're weird. Option X. So speaking of this, I'm a total family guy. I wanted to introduce you to my family as we get to know each other. This is my wife, Tia, absolute love of my life. These are our twins, Avi and Talia. Don't let their cuteness fool you. They're little monsters most of the time. Our 3-pound Yorkie, obviously he protects the household. Well, anyway, about the kiddos, they're happy and healthy today, thank God. But their lives didn't start out that way. At 26 weeks pregnant, Tia and I went on a baby moon. We went to Las Vegas. We wanted to see a couple shows, do some shopping, kind of prepare for the arrival. And she was in perfect health. Her doctor cleared it. Well, we ran into a medical crisis and were forced to have an emergency C-section at 26 weeks. This is called a micropreemie, aka 14 weeks premature, and it's really bad. Like the odds are not good. And so what happened is we were thrust into this world of chaos that we were unprepared for. This is what our lives looked like shortly thereafter. So one night we're having dinner picking out baby names. The next night we're in the neonatal intensive care unit praying for our children's lives. Both kids were born under 2 pounds, both required a heart surgery. And for 104 days, we sat in that neonatal intensive care unit, didn't know what was going to happen. Again, good news, it's not a sad story. They ended up perfect. They're great kids right now. No lingering health issues. But again, we didn't know that. So that was a period for us of terrible fear and anxiety and overwhelm and helplessness. The reason I bring all that up is I can really relate to this next example. It really hit me in the heart. Children's Hospital, University of Pittsburgh. Who are their customers? Sick kids and their families like mine. The folks wanted to create a better experience for those customers. What's an obvious approach? Softer pillows, better lighting. What's an option X approach? These are the window washers. So they dressed up the window washers like superheroes. No productivity was lost, had to clean the windows anyway. But now you got Batman and Spider-Man, and as they're doing their work, they're entertaining the kids. Game changer. It takes the attention away from the medical care. Those kids look forward to it for days. It's even better for the window washers. Before they were doing a rather mundane job, and now they discovered purpose and meaning to their work. And just to be clear, this did not make $1 billion, but it sure made a difference. That's what a big little breakthrough is. And the way we fight back in a world of AI transformation, one big little breakthrough at a time. Okay, we're gonna hit our fourth and final big idea of the afternoon. Fall 7 times, stand 8. I didn't write this phrase, I borrowed it from a Japanese proverb. Here's why. My observation working with the most innovative folks you can imagine around the globe is that they look at setbacks a little different. Instead of win or lose, they think win or learn. They recognize that if we want to be innovative, if we want to have breakthroughs, we're going to have to tolerate some mistakes. And in fact, those mistakes are often the portals of discovery. When the inevitable speed bump happens, they don't wallow in shame and self-pity. They're not humiliated. Instead, they say, okay, what can I learn and how can I adapt? Mistake, learn, adapt, pivot, go. Rinse and repeat. And what happens is it's like the intersection of creativity and tenacity. When those forces come together, we become unstoppable. I'm often asked when I'm playing a jazz performance, how do you know you're going to get it right? They say, you're playing very complicated, fast-moving music. It requires intense physical dexterity. You're making it up as you go. You're performing with musicians you never rehearsed with. How do you know you're going to get it right? I always smile and say, I know I'm not going to get it right. Never have, never will. Nearly 2,000 performances over the last 40 years, I've made mistakes in every one of them. Usually many, by the way. My confidence as a musician isn't thinking I'm going to be perfect. It's knowing how to recover. And I think that's so important. I want to put it on the screen because it goes way beyond jazz guitar. For us as leaders, confidence is not expecting to always get it right. Confidence is knowing how to bounce back. You know, most of us here, overachievers, we suffer from perfectionism, meaning we have to have all the answers. We can never show any vulnerability. We got to be the smartest person in the room. We can never possibly make a mistake. That's a heavy burden to carry. My suggestion is to revisit that and say, wait a minute, what if I just know I'm a human being doing my best? And I can walk into an unknown situation, I'll probably make a mistake or two. Okay, I'm going to adapt and learn. I'm going to fall 7 and stand 8. If you choose that approach, it's liberating. It's like a huge weight lifted off of your shoulders. And not only is it better internally, we become more effective as leaders. So these days, I run a venture capital fund called Mudita Venture Partners, M-U-D-I-T-A. In case you're wondering, mudita is a Sanskrit term, which means taking joy in other people's success. So as I get to know many of you and hear about your success, that fills me with joy. That's awesome. It's not jealousy, it's not resentment, it's awesomeness. It's the feeling you get when your kid gets an A in school. And I chose to name the fund that because I wanted to be a different kind of fund where we're lifting people up, not kicking people down. We traded ruthlessness and being cutthroat with generosity and kindness and compassion. Anyway, fall 7, stand 8. I just want to give you a couple current examples of what we're working on. I'm sure you've seen a government announcement and there's someone doing sign language next to the person. Here in Florida, for example, if DeSantis was giving a hurricane announcement, someone would be signing next to Governor DeSantis. But in a normal Teams meeting, here today, I don't see anyone signing. The thing is that 500,000 people in the US alone, you speak American Sign Language, that's their primary language. But sign language translation is expensive and in short supply. So we thought this was a cool opportunity for AI. What if we could create a sign language translator using AI? And we had this good idea, like let's create a bi-directional real-time sign language translator. So for example, let's say you walked into a hospital. They could hold up an iPad and you could sign to it and it would speak to the hospital administration and vice versa. Real-time, bi-directional. We thought it was a cool idea. So here's what happened. We tried it, we got the tech rolling, didn't work out. Tried it again, learned from it, didn't work out. Rinse and repeat like 175 times. I mean, this felt pretty scary, but we just kept after it. And eventually we got it. We built this company called Sign AI. It's now the largest online AI-driven translation for sign language. And we're about to roll it out commercially in a few months. This will be really, I think, impactful. You know, whether it's a government service agency or a customer service center or a first responder, it's going to provide a voice to those that ordinarily struggle with one. The reason I bring all this up is not to boast about this cool company, although I'm proud of it. The only reason this works is through a whole bunch of experiments, mistakes, setbacks, and pivots. It wasn't like a eureka moment. It was lots and lots of scrappy experiments that failed. And then finally, we broke through it. Another quick example, the entrepreneur there in the white shirt, Greg, came to me with an idea. I really liked him. He was smart, hardworking, humble. I became his lead investor. He's about to launch this company. We had super high hopes for it. We gave it everything we got, like late night brainstorm sessions, helping him with everything, intros, contacts, all that. He launches the company and it totally fails. It was bad, like every expectation shot. So now we say, what are we gonna do? We have a hard choice to make. I went to every single one of my advisors at that time. 100% of them told me, take a 0, cut your losses, move on. But I really believed in Greg and his team. So we did the opposite, fall 7, stand 8. And we started doing these exact same techniques that we've covered today. We're judo flipping stuff. We have a 2 test list rolling. We're looking for option X ideas. Anyway, to Greg's credit, not mine, Fall 7 and Stand 8, he relaunched and pivoted the company. If anyone here is into high-end shoes, you might recognize the company today. They're called StockX. If you've never heard of StockX, it's the largest marketplace for collectible shoes, bags, and watches. Today, the company employs 2,000 people around the globe. At their most recent capital raise, it was valued at $3.8 billion. Again, not my success, that's Greg's credit. The only reason I bring all this up is that these principles work. They're not a bunch of ivory tower nonsense. They actually work in the real world. And if we can do that in Detroit, Michigan, think what you can do across the resources, and of course with the support of ReSource Pro. So as we wind things down, and I know we're going to have some fun this evening, I'm happy to sign anyone's book that wants, 4 core mindsets to innovate in the age of AI. Start before you're ready. It's the notion of just putting yourself in motion, figuring it out as you go. Break it to fix it. Challenging conventional wisdom rather than complying with it. Judo flipping to new possibilities. Getting your 2 test list rolling. Seek the unexpected, looking for those weird option X ideas, lava lamps, window washers dressed as superheroes. And finally, Fall 7, Stand 8, which is creative tenacity. Using those setbacks as a learning moment to pivot and adjust. These are universal, they work in almost all situations, they cost no money, and they don't require a bunch of study. They simply require an open mind and an open heart. And if you're willing to embrace them, I believe that's going to be a pivotal resource for you as we continue to fight our way through the age of AI. So bringing it home, I was thinking about what to say and actually went to the ReSource Pro website and it gave me some hints. First of all, I love this question. Is your insurance team ready for AI? And I hope that not just with my remarks, but the entire experience here in Tampa, that we will leave Tampa saying, oh yeah, we got this. The other thing that really struck me was this notion around coming together as a community to elevate ourselves and make a bigger impact. I'll share this finally, that my dad was in the insurance business. It was very meaningful to me because not only did I learn about it around the dinner table, but we'd be going at the grocery store and some client would run up to him and express their appreciation. Because it wasn't just about him making money, it was about making a difference in people's lives. And I heard story after story about how he took care of them and they felt protected and cared for by him. Unfortunately, I lost my dad in 2007, but what he bestowed upon me is exactly what we're doing in this industry. We're caring for other people. We're protecting them. And I think with such an important mission and with the tools we discussed, you've got everything you need to win. And now is the time to make that leap forward. Now is the time. It's time to start before we're ready. It's time to break it to fix it. It's time to seek the unexpected. If we fall 7, let's stand 8. It's time to awaken the artist within. And together we're going to be well equipped to find our way to a remarkable success. Thank you. Thank you so much.